Hey guys, and welcome to FaithWorks Designs. I'm Faith, and today we're going to be talking about all things patterns. So pattern designing, pattern creating, pattern buying, like all of that is a huge Pandora's box. So today we're going to be talking about being a pattern purchaser, being a pattern maker. We're going to kind of cover a huge spectrum of conversation today, so let's get started. Now, in today's video, I went ahead and I compiled a few notes from a couple of really popular designers that have been out for a while and that know a lot more than I do, because I was tinkering with the idea of starting a pattern company. And because of that, I wanted to get some advice. So I sent out a bunch of messages and I was like, hey everybody, what's your advice for a pattern designer first coming out and trying to establish her business? What would be the ideal advice that you would give them? And so to begin with, we're going to talk about pattern designers and starting to design, and then we're going to kind of talk about us as pattern buyers and all of that stuff. So let's go. First one up is Spencer and Og. Now, when she reached out to me, she said the very first thing was being different, which I totally agree with. Your patterns have to be different, otherwise they're going to be the same patterns that have been putting out over and over again. So I agree. I try to make my patterns with the best instructions I possibly can, with the clearest photography and labeling and in-depth video tutorial, so everyone can follow along regardless of sewing experience or preference for written or video instructions. My testers are indispensable. If any one of them has a question or is unsure of any step, I will re-look at it and rewrite it over and over until everyone finds it easy to follow. I try to include or invent a new technique or produce a new shape that hasn't been done before, so each paid pattern stands out as being different. Totally agree with that. I think a lot of patterns are starting to look alike because there are so many pattern designers out right now, which we will talk about a little bit later. But I think trying to make your patterns looking different is really going to help your pattern stand out. She also said free patterns. I also like to give back to my followers, so for every paid pattern I issue, I also produce a free sample pattern or tutorial, so I'm not excluding those who can't afford a pattern at that particular time, to keep people engaged and coming back. So that's what I did again this year. I thought that was really good advice, just giving away a pattern, because you do have to put the work into it, you do have to get it tested, you do have to take the time to figure it out. But it does draw a lot more people to your website instead of where they might not have found it before. So they're like, ooh, free pattern, and then they'll go on there and they'll purchase it. Sometimes when they're on there getting free patterns, they'll go ahead and pick up another pattern. So you can make a sale by adding a free pattern to your site. Definitely recommend that one. So the next one is Emmeline bags. As a pattern designer, I would say what helped me succeed the most is having a well-designed and planned product that was thoroughly pattern tested, and also have a firm grip on the skills you want to write a pattern for. So definitely agree with both of those. I think you need to have your pattern tested a lot before you decide to put it out, because if you put a pattern out and it's really not ready, you're going to have a lot of people mad with you and sending you messages and wanting refunds. So definitely have your pattern tested several times by other people so that you can make sure that it's right. I also think if you're going to make a pattern, don't try and do something that you've never done before. She said to have a firm grasp on those skills before you decide to implement them into your pattern. Totally agree with that. Make sure that you know what you're doing before you try and make a pattern and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. You're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort having a lot of headache. From Ora Rosa Patterns, for me, getting into patterns was the next logical step after custom bag making. I feel like having had some solid bag making experience prior was essential to being successful with the patterns. I feel my patterns themselves were the main reason due to my success, but the patterns cannot be seen without testers, and thus testers go hand in hand with the pattern itself. Testers cover so much when it comes to testing. They test the pattern, they spell and grammar check, they add ideas to the patterns, offer solutions to problems, they promote marketing the pattern. Testers are invaluable. I would highly agree with this. Testers are invaluable. They spot things that I might not have spotted. several times I'll be like, oh, this is ready to go. My testers are not going to have much to edit. And next thing you know, I'm spending another day editing things that I thought I had already gotten straight. So they're invaluable. Needle and Anchor said, currently my sales are struggling as well, but I think in the beginning what helped me grow was that Facebook was a better environment for small businesses, especially in groups. I feel like the past few years the algorithm has changed a lot that has had an effect on small businesses and their customer reach. I totally agree with that. Facebook has messed everybody over. I believe with when I was sewing to sell and then when I was pattern making, I feel like when I was sewing to sell, the algorithm was perfect. Everybody was seeing my stuff, no problems. They decided to change the algorithm and everybody had to start using that app button. You guys know what I'm talking about, especially if you're a part of a lot of groups. That was so annoying, but those groups had to do that. Otherwise, they weren't having people see their stuff. And some groups are still using it. It's very annoying, but because of Facebook's algorithm, it just messed everything up. So I do agree with her. Social media was really a way that helped me be able to grow my business when I was sewing to sell. You had to constantly post online. There's a video that I made that I'll share with you guys, and I talk about it on there of how I started my small business just using social media. It's a little bit harder now, but you can do it, especially if you're good at admin stuff and you can do say TikTok or Instagram, just taking pictures, showing it online. If you're really good at social media, your business is going to grow. There are quite a few people that are really good at social media and you can tell because their business is just booming. So if you're good at social media and you can spend some time doing admin, which I don't have the time for, you will grow. It's just at some point I need to get time to do that. Lynn's from Lynn's Handmade said, well, since my whole business is online for the most part, I found being very present on social media and interacting with people has helped a lot with gaining local customers and support in general. Also, I find I have to continue making patterns and posting them in hopes of inspiring people to give it a try. Releasing it and forgetting it doesn't help gain its traction, really, in my opinion. Working together with other small shops who sell hardware or backmaking supplies to cross-promote each other is also important. So I totally agree. Being present online, like I just said, and then she made a note that I realized, but I just hadn't had time for, but that making a pattern and then forgetting about it is not going to get you sales. So you're constantly going to have to be promoting your stuff. Even when promotion time for that pattern is over, you still need to like slip it in there. So if somebody's looking for a particular bag, you can shoot a link in the comment section, or if you make a new bag of one of your patterns, go ahead and show it off on all the social medias. You can do it. Knotted Threads Co. said, the first part of my answer is that I am still very new to this, still finding my way and always learning. I also didn't mind sharing the process or progression of a design. I know that it's atypical to show the design in progress, but I think people like something to have to look forward to. They like hearing about the progress or witnessing it, even if it's only small bits here or there. I think that gave me some appreciation for the work that goes into it and gave people a little confidence in the product I was putting out. It was just obvious that I was trying my hardest. For my testers, they are absolutely an invaluable part of the process. I tell them every pattern that promotion is the lowest priority for me. Their feedback, opinions, and input matter. Because if I don't think about it, someone else will. And if it takes me 5 minutes to reword something or answer a question about it 30 times, I'll take the 5 minutes every time. I take the time to respond to each bit of feedback individually and as promptly as I can. I respect their time immensely and I will never want to seem otherwise. Though I put promotion low on the list for my testers, I also recognize that my business reflects advertising efforts, and they are my avenue for when it comes to releasing weekend. I also know from personal experience that promotion can be exhausting, so I only ask for minimal promotion and I don't require proof of anything like that. I'm all about the mutual respect, and I think having that helps testers have confidence in me and my name, and thus helps more authentic promotion, which leads to better interaction and can result in more sales, at least in my opinion. So totally agree with a lot of what she said. I think having done the testing for a little while, totally agree. I think something that I would like to work on is, I noticed that she's really good about taking bits and pieces and showing them kind of the process and what it's going to look like, just kind of little sneak peeks, so that they can kind of see what comes up. And she's right, it does make people excited and they want to see what's going on and they want to see what you're making, and it just kind of helps them interact with your page more often, right? Okay, lastly but not least is going to be Emma from Studio 77. And what she said was, I always say, the ones who fail are the ones who quit. So being tenacious and talking about your patterns with everything is the advice I would give. And I saved her for last because I love my Emma. She's very, very sweet, and I have messaged her several different times before about different things, and she was just ready to talk, or if I needed to work something out, she was willing to be able to talk it out with me. And I know that woman is busy because she is always doing stuff. She's in the UK and she does a box from different projects. You know, it's kind of hard to get things in the UK, so she's been doing boxes out there. So if you guys haven't looked into it, I will try really hard to link her down below. I'm going to try and remember. But go check her out. She has quite a few Facebook pages. And that way, if you want to get a part of those, you can. And with that, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all the designers that got back with me and gave me their feedback. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to be able to respond to me, and that way I could kind of relate your message to other people, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Alright, so now that we've talked about the advice of getting started and what is going to bust a pattern business wide open and going to make it do well, next thing we need to talk about is pattern pricing. So, this is a touchy subject for me. There have been a lot of comments online, and they have been really discouraging. Like, I'm just going to be straight with you guys. Extremely discouraging. People complaining about pattern prices, and I get it. We are going through, the last 3 years have been really hard, so I get it. However, when you work really hard on a pattern and say this is your primary business, and someone goes and says your prices are too high, it makes you feel like crap, because you know yourself that that price is not high enough, because you know how much work has gone into it. I want to turn it around and say to the person that is complaining about the pattern prices, what would you do if somebody came and looked at your purse and was oohing and awing over it and said it's really cool and I love it, and then goes, well, your prices are too high? What does that make you feel like? You know? So I feel like I want to go through real quickly what it takes to get a pattern out. We're just going to do it real quick because some of you guys might not even care, but I want you guys to understand that when we price our patterns the way that we do, there's a reason for it, okay? We don't charge enough. I can tell you that from personal experience. We don't charge enough. So the very first thing is you're going to spend about a month making a pattern. You're going to make sure that it's right, because if you half-tail it and you send it off to your testers and they find something wrong with it, it's going to take you twice as long to fix it and get it straight as if you just took that month. At least this is what I do. Take that month and make sure that it's right. I make at least 4 of them so that I can make sure that everything is right. I'm taking notes. I'm, going through everything, making sure that it's right. There's certain pieces that take a little bit longer. It just depends on the pattern. Another part of that month is doing the video for it, doing the editing of the video for it, doing the written instructions for it, getting the pictures from the video to do the pictures for the instructions. Let's see, what else did I say? Like, it's all of the technical stuff that you don't think of. I'm on the computer a lot. A lot. I've got to get another one of these chairs for downstairs because I am sitting in it so much, it's really hurting my back. So anyway, my battery's dying. Hold on. And we're back. Okay. When you used to get a pattern a long time ago, it was just the pattern. And you didn't get a whole lot extra with it. It was just the pattern. So they sold for like $6, $7. No problem, right? Well, then we have inflation, and then we have people wanting more from pattern designers. And I know this from personal experience. When I would buy patterns, there were certain things that I want. I'm a visual learner, so I need a video. Like, I hate having to read through instructions. I just want a video. If I can follow a video, I'm good to go. So pattern designers had to start making videos. Then the Cricut got real popular and people wanted SVG files, and now people are even using projector files. And there's just a lot, there's a lot more that goes into patterns than there used to be. Like, you have to admit that, okay, before you start complaining about prices. Look at what the patterns used to be versus what they are now. Go back and find some of those older patterns that you purchased and look what they came with. It's a whole different ballgame, you guys, than it used to be back in the day. So the prices have to reflect that, because we're using software that we didn't use before. You could just, you know, use Pages or something like that and create a template and do your patterns in. But now I'm using Illustrator, and I'm having to pay for that every single month to have that program to be able to make things, make the pattern pieces and write out everything, you know. I'm having to pay for all of that now. So that payment is included in the price of my patterns. And so I'm trying not to beat a dead horse, but I want you guys to understand the work that goes into it. If you've ever been in a tester group, then you understand. There's a month of all of that I was just talking about. Then you're going to have like a month of testing. Some people like to have 2 weeks, and I've seen it a lot, and it's a big ask for somebody that's testing for you and doing this for free, to like, you have 2 weeks, let's go, you know, to make sure that a pattern is just right. I give my testers a month because I feel like it's needed. They have kids, they have jobs, they have lives, you know, they need time to be able to get to it all over a weekend when they're off. So I give my testers a month. So that's 2 months with no pay, okay? Let's remember that. So during that month, something might happen. Maybe testing took longer, maybe, you know, the pattern just was not sitting right. There was one pattern, and I can't remember what it was, but I had to drop it for like a minute and just kind of like process. And so it ended up taking me longer than a month to be able to get that pattern to my testers. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it ended up being a 3-month period where I didn't make a dime because I wasn't releasing a pattern. And that was hard. I would highly recommend that if you're going to make patterns on the regular, that you give yourself 3 months. I think rushing to get something out, you're not going to put out the quality that you would have if you had given it a little bit more time. So that 3 months was good to make sure that the pattern was right. However, it was really hard going 3 months without an income. So when you release a pattern, all of the money that you're going to make for that pattern, for the most part, is going to be made in that very first week. So I always, and I think a lot of designers always in that first week, put their pattern on sale. And that way it's a little more incentive for people to grab it that week. So that week is going to be when you make the majority of your sales for that pattern. Throughout the year, there'll be a few sprinkled here or there, but for the most part, that's when you're going to make it. So I know whatever I've made on that 1 week, which by the way, don't make your promotion longer than a week. It's not cool. It's just an industry thing. It's just not cool. So make it a week, because your testers don't want to promote longer than a week. So promote for that week. Whatever you make on that week is going to have to last you that 3 months, okay? And I'm going to be real open and transparent with you guys. I make roughly, depending upon the pattern, some of these patterns didn't do quite as well, but for the most part, like when I did the pumpkin bags, I made roughly around $500 for that release, right? That wasn't the witch, that was just the pumpkin. So I know that I made $500 and it took me 3 months. Let's average that out per hour that I've been working on this thing. You're not getting paid enough. let's just put that out there. You're not getting paid enough. So when I get paid from a release and the release is over and I know what I've got to work with, that money has to last me another 2 more months, 3 more months. In the meantime, I've got to pay $96. So if it's 3 months, I've got to pay $96 to Illustrator just to have Illustrator accessible for me to be able to edit my patterns, to be able to put, you know, the edits my testers give me in that. That's a good portion of the money that I've just made, right? Plus the cost of materials and the cost of my time. Owning a small business, if you own a small business, you understand you put more time in than you get out of it. Like, we don't make enough money. So with the patterns that are out there right now, you're paying for the pattern, the video, the SVG files, the projector files, all of that stuff and things that comes with a pattern. And what if you have somebody that comes, and I've seen it, why don't you guys split up the pattern into like just the pattern itself versus the pattern and all of the works? Why don't you do that and make one cheaper? Okay, let me put it to you like this. What if you have a friend that comes to you and says, I'm going to give you the materials for this purse and I want you to make it for me. You've already agreed and you're excited because you're going to have business and it's great. And they're like, well, I'm going to give you the materials, so you're going to give me a discount? That's kind of what it feels like when you say that. Because we've already done all of the work, we've already done all of the files, we've already done everything, and you're wanting a discount for it. And that's kind of the same thing when somebody wants a discount on your work for giving you materials. Like, does that make sense? I hope it does, because if it doesn't, y'all are probably going to be so mad at me after this video, but I don't know. I've just kind of had it. I want to be paid what I'm worth. And I want you to be paid what you're worth for your work as well. So if we stop complaining about other people's prices and just support small businesses, maybe we can all make it instead of struggling like we are. I know, that was ranty. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is purse patterns and purse prices. So if you're thinking about designing and you're like, I just don't know what to price things. So here's what I'm going to say, and it's going to sound, again, you guys might not like this. There have been quite a few purses that look like purses that are already out. There are so many designers out right now, it's crazy. Like, they're just people making patterns like crazy. And that's fine. Because, so I've had some people tell me they like my videos versus somebody else's. And I'm sure there are other people that like their video versus my video, right? So when two people are making the same tote, how many people have a regular tote bag on their website, right? You might like the writing portion of this person versus this person over here. So it's good to have a lot of designers out there because they're writing things differently. Get one of their patterns, see if you like them, and then follow them. I think there's just a lot of the same pattern out, and I think people are getting pattern burnout because there's just so much. There's just so much. In the last year, people have just been going crazy making patterns, and that's great because of what I was just talking about. However, there are people that are charging more than they should for a different pattern, and that's kind of where I think some of the frustration comes in, is that you'll have, like, without getting in trouble, like just a regular like rectangle bag, and they're wanting like $12, $15 for the pattern. You're like, girl, that is basic. Like, that's one of those patterns that you don't want to charge a lot for because there are a gazillion of those bags out, and it is basic. You don't want to charge a bunch of money for a basic bag. If, you know, again, you're going to have like a bag that has like a lot of pieces in it and it's different, it's not something we've seen online before, then go ahead and charge $12.99. If you have like all the files and everything's well written and all of that, go ahead and charge $12.99 for it. If your testers say, this is a really great pattern, you know, it's got a lot of pieces, it's got a lot of this, got a lot of that, options, which is another thing I feel like a lot of pattern testers are having to do right now, is options. I know for me, the last couple that I've done, I've had to have 3 of everything, like 3 different sizes, 3 different flaps, 3 different this, 3 different that. And I saw another designer doing it as well, and it's just like, people want more for their money, and I realize that. However, you have to realize that we are putting extra time into those things. I was like, Faith, you really need to write this down because you're going to get frustrated and you're just going to be like, blah, 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 blah. And I did. So anyway, I feel like pattern designing is a rough road to get into, depending upon how much time you're going to have to put into it. If this is going to be your full-time job, you're going to have to put in your all. You're going to have to figure out YouTube. You can find people that'll test for you, that'll want to do videos for you. I know for Mika Posh, she doesn't have a YouTube channel because she doesn't want to deal with all of that. So those that test for her make videos for her. Me and 2 other women make videos for her. And so you don't necessarily have to get into YouTube, but let me put this out there. If you're doing your patterns and it's your baby, you really ought to try and get into YouTube, because you're not only going to be getting paid for the pattern, but you're also going to be getting paid on YouTube. It might take some time to build your channel. It might take some time to figure out how to film. It might take all of that time and effort, but eventually, especially with tutorials, people have to watch those over and over and over again, because people like me don't like to read instructions. I would rather watch a video. They're going to have to watch it over and over again, so you're going to get the views. It just depends on if you're equipped enough to do that, and you might not be right away, and you know, that's fine. But if you can and you want to make a little bit of extra income, I would highly recommend trying to figure out YouTube and trying to figure out recording yourself and filming and all of that stuff. It'll be worth it in the end. I know when I have a pattern launch, it really helps the YouTube algorithm, and it really helps my income. Now, I don't make a lot. There's another video for that. But it really does just give that extra little money while you're in between that 3-month waiting period to get paid again. If you have YouTube coming in between those 3 months, you could have yourself another $100 a month towards keeping yourself going while you're waiting for the next pay period. Also, if you're watching this and you want to make YouTube videos and you really want to like make a pattern by someone else and not yourself, you really need to ask that person before you just go doing it. It's kind of rude. I've had one person do that to one video, and it was extremely rude, and pattern designers don't like that. Now, if I've done a pattern by somebody else, they have either asked me or I have volunteered, and they have been like, cool. Definitely please ask the person before you do their video. Right now, because I just released my patterns like a year, I don't think we're quite at a year yet. I'm not letting anybody else do my videos for right now. I think further along we go, maybe yes, but for right now, no. I've had a couple of people ask, and I told them, I appreciate you asking, because there are a lot of people that just do what they want to do, and I think that's kind of one of those things we don't talk about online enough, is asking permission instead of just doing something, you know what I mean? So I told them I really appreciated them coming and asking before just doing it. That was really cool, and I really appreciated it. That was a lot about patterning. I know not all of you guys are into making patterns, and that's fine, but I just thought maybe a little bit of insight into what pattern designers have to deal with, what they go through, maybe would give you some insight if you were thinking about or contemplating making patterns, kind of what the overall realm of all of this is. Let me just say, I don't want to sound discouraging. I don't, okay? It's just pattern designing is a lot of work, and I spend a lot of time in this room and in this chair. That was a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, or if you want to subscribe to see some of the other videos I've got coming out. Or if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. If there was something that I didn't cover, or if there was something that you had a question about designing wise, you can just leave it in the comment section. I do check those daily, and I'll get back to you. There may be something that I forgot to talk about, because the second half of the video versus like the first half of the video is just kind of like me giving it to you. So anyway, if I forgot something and you have a question about it, just put it in the comment section, and maybe I'll make another video. Thanks for joining us again on Faith Works Designs. Bye, guys.